Hello, although YouTube and Google clearly want people to use their real names a lot more, I'm very attached to my username, Nineteenthly, and I'd like to know what the story behind your own usernames are. So I'm asking you basically to respond to this video either by video yourself or by commenting below to tell me why you've chosen the username that you have, because I'm very interested in that. And the reason I'm interested is because I think that whereas you don't generally choose your own name, you do usually choose your username. And as a result, you can express your personality a lot more in your username than you can in your given name. So I think it's a bit unfortunate. I can understand why they've done it, but I think it's a bit unfortunate that they've chosen to abandon it. In fact, it is a matter of public record and has been since 2005 that my name is Mark Ure, because I've got a Wikipedia page which tells everybody that because that's what they wanted everybody to do. Now, the reason I'm called Nineteenthly, okay, there are two aspects to this. You can think of it as how I ended up using that username, or you can think of it as how I chose that username. Now, I ended up using that username because I was on the Half Bakery as Grey Ure, which was a name that I shared with my wife. The moderator of the Half Bakery was unhappy with me doing that, so I changed my username to Nineteenthly. I also spent a brief period calling myself Zerothly, but she didn't like that either. I think you can understand the pun behind that. So that's why I'm called Nineteenthly. I've had other usernames as well. There was PLL1_25, which I had in the 80s, which is to do with philosophy and logic. And there's also Grey Ure, which sounds like a cunt of cheese, and Ure Grey, which sounds like a country. So, why did I choose Nineteenthly? Well, there's a made-up story behind it, probably made up, that there was a philosophy student, and I was a philosophy student myself, who was reading On the Plurality of Worlds by Giordano Bruno. Now, On the Plurality of Worlds is interesting because in translation, the paragraphs begin firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, and so on. And he got to the paragraph beginning Nineteenthly, and at that point decided that it wasn't worth it and he gave up philosophy. What the actual paragraph says is, Nineteenthly, more is added to that which has been said under the second heading. Now, I use the word Nineteenthly because of that story, because it's a reminder not to waffle, an acknowledgement that I talk too much and I say too much and I'm too verbose. There you go, that happened again. And an exhortation to balance thought with action, because I think too much, or rather I think in the wrong way probably. Now, the figure of Giordano Bruno himself is, of course, a bit of a secularist hero, because he was a 16th century philosopher who was burnt at the stake for heresy, because he believed in the plurality of worlds. In other words, he believed that the universe was infinite and eternal, and that each star was the centre of a solar system. And that was not a popular idea with the Vatican, so they burnt him at the stake for a number of reasons. He was also known as the Nolan. Now the thing is, although people think of him as a hero of the secular world, in a way he was very different, because he was also, like me, a hylozoist and a panpsychist. He believed that the whole universe was alive and that matter was intrinsically conscious. And that's not a popular idea with scientists nowadays. He was a neo-platonist basically, and he had very different views than are often ascribed to him, or rather a lot of additional views that people might find uncomfortable. Now, his heresies specifically were that he denied the Trinity and the Incarnation, the virginity of Mary, transubstantiation. He believed in the plurality of worlds and in the eternity of those worlds, which means that he denied the idea that there was going to be a day of judgment. He also believed in reincarnation, practiced magic and divination. When the sentence was pronounced upon him, he said, traditionally, is supposed to have said, "Perhaps you pronounce this sentence against me with greater fear than I receive it." In other words, I'm right and you're wrong because I'm going to be reincarnated. And you can burn me at the stake and that's fine. Now, he's commemorated in the Star Trek universe by the starship NCC 1320, but I haven't been able to track down where that is. So that's the story of my username. I would be very interested in hearing the story of your username. I would like to know the story of how you got it, and also the story of why you chose it. And I'm also fairly interested in what you think about the YouTube and Google policy on usernames and real names. So please respond by video or by comment, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say.